Not a matter of if, but when crisis will rock your world. I'm Roshini Rajkumar, crisis strategist and host of The Crisis Files. We are on location at Mall of America for our second annual live remote, but our first MOA Rotunda show. This is a space that's used to seeing big concerts, fashion shows, dance competitions. No matter where we are, our mission is the same: crisis busting. One of the Crisis Files' favorite guests returns to share salient insights on a topic that will always be with him. Ken Barlow is chief meteorologist at KSTP TV in the Twin Cities and a mental health advocate. Ken is here for the case file I call Signs of Struggle. Ken, I have to tell you, case file number 93, Inner Narrative, when you were on in season 2, look it up, people, because to this date, it is the most listened to episode in the history of my show.
Oh, really?
It is. It is.
That's
pretty amazing.
Interesting. Thank you to tell me that.
And we got into a topic that I want you to kick off. I'm not even gonna, for people who haven't heard it yet, I want you to tell us, what did we get into? It was very, very raw.
Well, I talk about my journey with bipolar disorder and how I knew even as a teenager that something wasn't quite right. And then in college, my girlfriend, who's now my wife, has been my wife since, and I went to a doctor away from college. We borrowed a friend's car and drove up to a doctor who took a brain scan and said, there's nothing wrong, you're fine. And I knew something was wrong because I was moving too fast, but I didn't know what it was. And then it devolved over time into going in to get checked because I couldn't get out of bed one day, and I was diagnosed with an August grass allergy, which turned out to be depression, but I didn't know. So he gave me an inhaler and sent me home. So I hear that again, and I know you told me that in case file number 93. That just seems so ludicrous, Ken. Well, the thing is, the thing that my main point is to make sure people don't feel alone in any kind of mental health situation, but I also want people to advocate for themselves, not just with mental health, but with your health in general. If you don't think something's right, you're probably not a hypochondriac. Something probably isn't right. So I knew something was not right since I was a teenager, but I just didn't know how to address it. We didn't talk about mental health back in the 70s when I was growing up, and we didn't talk about it in the 80s really, and even in the 90s we barely mentioned it. My dad had bipolar disorder, and none of us 5 boys ever knew because it wasn't talked about in his generation.
And your mom only shared that with you after your father died.
After he passed, I was diagnosed 2 years later, and she said, yeah, Dad had that. He was just too embarrassed to tell you guys.
Well, you know, Ken, we've come a long way where there still is some stigma, but I think it's not like it was when we were growing up. And certainly when you were diagnosed, because you hid it for a while, then you did finally share with immediately with your inner circle, but then with your colleagues, and their response was very loving.
It was great. I was diagnosed in 2007, so my diagnosis can now vote, which is nice because it's 18 years old. And it took me 5 years to tell my best friends. I told my family immediately. Teresa told the kids why I was in the hospital. I just had collapsed one night because I was going 1,000 miles an hour for a month. And then my body just let go and I was in the hospital. And they diagnosed me while I was in the hospital that I was in a manic episode, which means I was just go, 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 go. So yeah, then I decided at the NAMI walk in 2012 that I was in good company, and I saw all the signs that said, stand against the stigma, stop pretending mental illness doesn't exist. And that was me. That's what I was doing. So I felt comfortable in telling these 4,000 people that were there that I had bipolar disorder, and everybody clapped.
Wow.
And I said, if I'd known they're going to do that, I'd have done it sooner.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is funny because I was among people who were supportive. That's why.
And I bet that was really affirming.
It was very affirming. And then I got on Channel 2's Almanac, and I got on there and I was talking about it publicly on the television. I was scared to death that I would get fired from my job. But the Hubbards have been wonderful. They've let me do what I want. They've contributed to mental health causes.
They own Channel 5, and
they own Channel 5, and they own me basically, under contract.
Yes.
So they could have said, we don't like you doing this, But they didn't. They
Well,
said,
Ken
go do
Barlow
it.
is good business. He's a very popular, you are a very popular TV personality, and you're a very good meteorologist, because in my past life as a TV reporter, I've worked with many meteorologists, and I know the good forecasters, and I know
Thank you.
the other. Let's just leave it at that.
Now that means the hard question's coming, right?
Here's, you were talking, what is your advice? Because I know you've said it's personal, going public versus keeping private. What have been the benefits for you for going public? You know, it took a while, but finally you went public and you're out there with it.
Right. People say, well, how come you told everybody everything about yourself? I haven't. I only told part of myself. And that part, I wanted people to know that they weren't alone, because for 5 years, I felt terrible because all I read about was people who had bipolar disorder, committed crimes, and they were, crazy, and they were all these other things. And I said, I can't go public with this. So then I did, and it was such a relief because I didn't get any negative response. I had hundreds and then thousands of emails from people once it got out in the newspaper and everywhere else. And I had, knock on wood, I hadn't had one negative comment the whole time. Nobody said, yeah, we thought so, or anything like that. It's all been positive.
One of the things in my own research on this and learning things from you is, and you post about it. I mean, go to Ken Barlow on Facebook, on Instagram, on X. You are very honest when you're having a bad day or a bad week. I guess I know I have a sense, but tell people why you're that honest about it.
Well, I want people to know that even though a guy on TV looks like, he's got a nice suit on, used to have better hair, but
and
he
good
has
hair.
pretty
you have
good hair.
Good hair. Still, you have good hair.
And, he looks like he got it all together, and he can speak in full sentences, and he owns a house, and he owns a car, and he does all these things. He's got it made. Well, there's another part of me too that's just like everybody else. Everybody has some stuff, I'll say it politely, whether it's blood pressure, some people have cancer, some people have other problems, other health issues. Mine happens to be a mental issue that I deal with, and I want people to know that that's okay, that they don't have to say it publicly, but I want them to know that I go through it and I get through it, and I want to be a beacon of hope. If anything I do in my life is to help people do that.
You are a beacon of hope because the loneliness is real. And I've read, I get very choked up when I read your Facebook and the comments of people, and it's literally hundreds of people are commenting and liking Ken's posts because you've shared maybe just you had a dark time, and it makes someone else, even if they might think they're just sharing it with you, but they're sharing it with 20,000 others that are reading Ken's Facebook. But you gave one by one, these people that comment, you give them hope, you give them a reason to maybe tell their friend or tell their coworker about their mental issues. And hey, we all have things, right? Like you taught me, we all have a thing.
Yes.
Yours just happens to be this.
Right, and it's treatable. And you can do it, you can get through it just like anything else. If you have high blood pressure, you listen to your doctor, you take a high blood pressure medicine, and you're okay. If you have high cholesterol, you take a cholesterol medicine, and you're okay. If you have bipolar disorder, you take the medicine, you listen to your support net, which is very important. My wife is my biggest supporter, my 3 kids, my doctor, and my therapist, my psychologist. Also are my support net. And you have to believe in them, and you have to trust them to tell you when they don't think things are going well and you just don't recognize it yet.
I want to talk about that trust for a moment. So we've got doctor's orders. So you have a psychologist, obviously, and then also an MD,
Yep.
and who's prescribed things. How important is it? Why should we follow doctor's orders?
Well, it's like when you're given an antibiotic, let's say you have a sinus infection last week, for example, like I did, and they give you antibiotics and they say, take this until it's done. Because some people will take it and then they start to feel better and then they don't finish it, and sometimes it comes back. It's just like mental health. In the past, before I moved here, went off my medicine because I felt good. I felt normal, like me for a change. And I said, I don't need those meds. And it led to a really bad episode. So I learned my lesson then. So I take my medicine like my doctor says, like my wife says. And I also wrote myself a note while I'm of good mind, saying, listen to your support group. This is me telling you, you are stable right now. You have to do this. So don't give them crap if they tell you to take your medicine, basically.
Right, so you're writing yourself a reminder.
Yes.
You do what you need to do, right? You know yourself best, but you have the support network to also keep you on that path.
Keep you in line, because there are times when, like, I feel great right now, but that's because I'm taking my medicine. The medicine's not done. I take it every day, twice a day, some medicines. So as long as I stay on my medicine, I'm mostly okay. The problem with bipolar and a lot of mental illnesses, there's a lot of tweaking that gets done with your drugs. If anybody has depression or any other mental illness, you know that we go through a lot of different drugs before we get the right recipe. And sometimes that changes. And that's a really hard part of staying with your routine, is because you get so disappointed when all of a sudden you feel depressed and everything was so great. So your doctor tweaks a little bit, and it takes a couple of weeks, sometimes 4, but you get there. And I tell people, this is what my wife tells me, and now I tell people, you've been down this road before and you come out of it fine.
And you know what? Whether you have a mental illness or not, that is great advice. It's something for all of us to remember, because there is a lot of anxiety out there, even if someone's not diagnosed with something.
Right. And if, like I said at the beginning, if you feel like something's not quite right, if you wake up one day and it's harder than usual to get out of bed, this isn't a diagnosis, but mine happened to be depression. It wasn't that I had an August grass allergy. The inhaler did nothing but help me relax more.
I mean, yeah.
And sleep
still,
more. I
right.
breathed better when I was laying on the couch, but I had to somehow, I got out of it. And that was before I was diagnosed. So I don't know how I got out of it. It's a mystery to me how all my life I managed to get out of those highs and lows without medication.
Well, I know
don't
you
how.
have a faith, and you know, there is a higher, hopefully, being out there protecting Ken Barlow.
Strong belief in God for me is very high.
Yes, and we have that in common, and it's fine if people don't feel that way, but knowing yourself and being honest is step number 1.
Right. I mean, the first thing I say when something goes wrong is, oh my God. I mean, so obviously, you know, you're thinking God. So I'm very spiritual that way. So I believe that I am here for a purpose. I think I'm on TV for a purpose, and I have bipolar disorder for a purpose, so I can do what I'm doing right now. And I've talked to thousands of people about it. And I think that's why I'm here on Earth, not to be a weatherman, but to be a weatherman with a platform.
The platform is the weather. The platform is being on TV and social and the radio and the Crisis Files. And you are welcome here anytime to talk about anything you want, Ken Barlow.
Thank you.
I want to get into our title of case file number 171, Signs of Struggle, which will drop across all the Crisis Files podcast platforms, YouTube, and thecrisisfiles.com on November 3rd. But I will say signs. What are those signs of struggle? Because we have children, we have teenagers, maybe some of our elderly among us. I know you're not a doctor, but you've been to many, and you trust them. What are some signs, like just everyday signs, that maybe friends or neighbors or your family might notice?
Well, I think if there's a way you can ask a friend, and most people know this, but some people don't know what to say when they notice something's not quite right with a friend. You don't say, what the hell's the matter with you? That's the wrong way.
That's the wrong way.
You say, I notice you're acting a little sluggish today, or you seem a little tired more than usual. Are you okay? And then you can start a conversation. If they don't want to start a conversation with you, they'll just say, I'm fine. But most of the time when I'm asked, I say, thank you for asking. I'm having a little dip today, but I'll be better soon. I don't know when, but thank you for asking, because I appreciate that. So most people will appreciate the ask because they're going through it alone most of the time. I didn't want to tell my mom. I didn't want to tell my dad. I didn't want to tell Teresa, my wife. She just happened to be there. You know, the doctors told her. And I may have kept it secret for her for a little while. I don't know. But it's because I was so ashamed. And there's nothing to be ashamed of. I'm very proud to get up here and talk about it, because it choked up.
I know, and I'm so proud of you. Well, I mean, your colleagues are proud of you. You are. I mean, this is your mission, Ken Barlow.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, getting the forecast right is always important. Don't get me wrong, but this is my mission now, is to make sure people don't feel like they're the only ones that don't feel good.
That is great. And I definitely recommend everyone revisit, or if you haven't heard it before, case file number 93, Inner Narrative. It is, to date, our most listened to episode. You can watch Ken on KSTP TV if you live in Minnesota. Follow Ken Barlow on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Thanks, Mall of America, for hosting. Visit MOA for shopping, eating, and entertainment whenever you visit the Twin Cities in the state of Minnesota. Check our show archive at thecrisisfiles.com. I'm Roshini Rajkumar. Join me next time on The Crisis Files.